Welcome to your first homework video. At this time, it would be a good idea to get a piece of paper and a pencil and your textbook if you can. Every video I will give you focused questions to concentrate on while you're watching the videos. These are usually the lesson reviews at the end of the section. So if you have your book, you will have the questions with you. So let's get started. Get your pencil and piece of paper out. This lesson's 5 focus questions are: what are 3 kinds of natural resources that people use? 2. What natural resources do you depend on and why? You need to be able to define what fossil fuels are and how they are produced. I will also be asking you why people value natural resources. And lastly, how are renewable resources such as trees and fertile soil replaced? Today's focus vocabulary words are natural resource, biological resource, fertile soil, mineral, fossil fuel, renewable resource, non-renewable resource, conservation, scarce, and recycling. For next class, it would be good for you to be able to explain each of these definitions in your own words. Natural resources. To meet our basic needs, people around the world depend on natural resources. A natural resource is something in nature that is valuable to people. People use natural resources to make food, energy, and raw materials for products. No one place on Earth has every natural resource that people use. Some countries, such as Canada, Peru, the United States, and Russia, have many natural resources. Other countries, such as Denmark and Japan, have few. Biological resources. Biological resources are by far the most important kind of natural resource because people use them chiefly for food. A biological resource is a natural resource that is or was living. The word biology refers to the living things in a region. Birds, fish, wild animals, flowers, and trees are all examples of biological resources. Trees are a plentiful and important biological resource in many ways. People value trees because they absorb pollution from the air and produce oxygen that people need to breathe. Some people use the wood from trees to build homes and to make furniture. People make wood into pulp, which is used to produce paper and cardboard. Products as different as maple syrup and paint thinner also come from trees. In many countries, people burn wood from trees to heat their homes and cook their food. Just as people depend on biological resources depend on other natural resources. As people cut down trees for their use, new trees are planted for future use. In this picture, you can see how trees have been cut down, and in the next picture, you will see a tree planter planting trees for future use. Most plants and animals cannot live without air, sunshine, and water. Living things also depend on soil as a direct or indirect source of food. Plants use the sun's energy to make food, and they obtain nourishing substance from the soil through their roots. People and animals then get nourishment by eating the plants. Soil is a plentiful resource that covers much of the Earth's land surface. In places with fertile soil, or soil that is good for growing crops, people generally do not worry about having enough food to eat. Where soil is not fertile, a lack of food can make people's lives difficult. Places that cannot produce enough food often need to get them from elsewhere. In this map, you can see land use and resources around the world. This map has two keys that we can look at. The different colors can show us what the land is used for, and the symbols can tell us what exact resource is provided in that region. Take a look at this map and see what resources are available around you. Mineral and fuel resources. Minerals are another important kind of natural resource. A mineral is a natural resource found in rocks, the solid material from which Earth is made. There are more than 3,000 kinds of minerals, but only 100 are common and used by people. People use minerals to make products. For example, people use graphite to make pencils. Other products made from minerals include cement for building, fertilizers for farming, and chemicals for manufacturing. Many people use the term mineral for any substance taken from Earth and used by people. These minerals include fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, and petroleum. A fossil fuel is a natural resource used to provide heat and other energy. People use fossil fuels to cook food, heat buildings, and power machines. Like most minerals, fossil fuels were formed long ago deep within Earth. Fossil fuels, however, are not made of rocks. They were formed from prehistoric plant and animal remains that were buried and under pressure for a long time. People gather fossil fuels by mining or drilling in Earth's crust. Miners and oil workers in such countries as Norway, Saudi Arabia, and the United States and Venezuela bring fossil fuels to the surface. These fossil fuels are made into products that people use. Some families in India, for example, use coal or natural gas to heat their homes and cook their food. Drivers in Germany and in other places around the world use the gasoline and motor oil made from petroleum to run their automobiles. In addition to using fossil fuels for energy, people use them to produce paint, aspirin, carpets, and just about everything made from plastic. You can see gold to the left was taken from a deep underground mine in Canada. Renewable and non-renewable resources. All natural resources can be described as either renewable or non-renewable. A renewable resource can be made again by nature or by people in a practical amount of time. A non-renewable resource is one that takes too long to replace or cannot be replaced at all. Fresh water is an important natural resource that is automatically renewed in nature by the water cycle. Another renewable resource that people depend on is soil. Earth's natural processes always create more soil. Weathering by wind, ice, and rain breaks rocks into smaller pieces that become part of new soil. When trees, leaves, plants, and animals die, they too contribute to renewing the soil by adding nourishing substances and by helping soil hold moisture. Nature replaces renewable natural resources. However, often they are not replaced as fast as people use them. If the people living in a place use fresh water faster than the water cycle replaces it, water might become limited or scarce. People also might cut down thousands of trees in a forest. It would take years for new trees to grow back. If people do not plant seedlings, other vegetation might replace the trees. To prevent renewable natural resources from becoming limited or used up completely, people can take certain actions. For example, people can conserve them or keep them from being lost or wasted. Examples of conservation include planting new trees to replace the ones cut down, or using less water to allow the water cycle to recover. Conservation is practically important for non-renewable resources such as fossil fuels. Although they are produced naturally, the process took thousands of years. As a result, Earth contains a limited supply of fossil fuels. To save even more natural resources, many people and communities around the world recycle. Recycling is a process designed to recover and reuse materials instead of throwing them away. The most common materials for recycling include aluminum and steel cans, glass and plastic containers, and paper, particularly newspaper. Other recycling programs collect petroleum products, including used motor oil and automobile tires. Recycled waste provide materials for a variety of products. In Germany and other parts of the world, special bins are used for collecting materials to recycle. Manufacturers use aluminum and steel from recycled cans to make new cans and other metal products. Recycled paper is used not only in making paper and cardboard, but also in manufacturing building materials such as insulation and plasterboard. Manufacturers grind up old glass and use it to make new glass containers or materials used in making roads and highways. Some plastic containers are melted and molded into new plastic products. Recycled motor oil is used as industrial fuel oil. Recycled tires are made into shoes and playground surfaces. Many businesses and industries recycle office waste, such as paper and cardboard, like what you see in the picture here. Using old resources in new ways. In addition to conservation and recycling, some people look for new ways to meet the demand for resources. One way is to make better use of previously underused resources, especially for providing energy. The sun, the wind, and the ocean are among those resources. Solar or sun power can provide heat for people's use. In a solar-powered house, the sun might heat water stored inside panels on the roof. Once warmed, the water may heat the house or provide hot water for bathing and cleaning. On a large scale, many solar panels concentrate heat to turn water into steam. This steam then turns machinery that generates electricity. This is a clean way to produce energy because little pollution is created. The wind is another source of clean energy. People have used the power of wind for centuries. In the Netherlands, people would grind grain and pump water by using energy from windmills. Today, places around the world gather wind power. Air flowing over the blades of a special engine called a turbine causes the blades to turn and produce electricity. However, Wind energy can be unreliable and is not available everywhere. There is a similar problem of availability in using ocean tides as an energy resource. Tidal energy, as it is called, comes from the energy of water as it flows from high tide to low tide. Energy is captured in a dam built across a bay. As the ocean tide rises, the bay fills with water, and the dam is closed to hold in the water. At low tide, the stored water is released through the turbine in order to generate electricity. The chief disadvantage of tidal energy is that dams can be built in only a few places. Why natural resources matter. How valuable is a resource is usually depend on how much there is and how many people want it. Because of this, natural resources have value. Some natural resources, such as water, are so valuable that people cannot live without them. The value of mineral resources, such as gold and silver, which are scarce and in demand, is usually great. Having plentiful natural resources can give a group of people independence. If a group has the resources it needs, then it does not have to trade with other groups. However, one group of people rarely has all the natural resources it needs. A natural resource that is scarce in one part of the world might be abundant in another. Through trade with each other, groups can meet their needs. Wind turbines, such as the ones you see in this picture, are located in California and many other places around the world. These turbines produce electricity for use in homes and in businesses. How people use and manage natural resources affects everyone around the world. People might cut down forests in one country to create a field or growing crops. A rare type of plant that grows only in a forest could then die and become extinct. Any benefits that people have gotten from that plant, such as life-saving medicine, would be lost forever. For next class, please be confident and comfortable in being able to discuss the 5 following points. What 3 kinds of natural resources do people use? What natural resources do people depend on, and what do you depend on? What are fossil fuels and how are they produced? Why do people value natural resources? And lastly, how are renewable resources such as trees and fertile soil replaced?